former state senator Amanda Chase, who's going to break down some of the bills, some of the legislation coming from the legislature, and see what Governor Youngkin is up to. Rudy Giuliani says, and I quote, "I know Donald Trump, and if you like Donald Trump, John McGuire is your guy." Bob Good stabbed Trump in the back, and John has been with Trump since he came down the escalator. He's a Navy SEAL who has run counter-drug missions south of the border, so he knows how to deal with the border and the cartels. He's a strong leader, not an untrustworthy backstabber like Bob Good. A vote for John is a vote for Trump. Again, that's Rudy Giuliani, official endorsement of John McGuire. So it is getting more and more and more interesting. Last week, before I left, there were a number of endorsements of John McGuire, including some folks from Campbell County, folks who are on the Campbell County Board of Supervisors who served with Bob Good. I just want you to be aware of it because that's coming up a lot faster than a lot of people realize. We are looking at Governor Youngkin and what he is doing with some of the legislation that is coming out, and a lot of vetoes, I'm very happy to say. And former state senator Amanda Chase has done a great job of looking at the bills coming through the legislature and offering some analysis on that, what the governor's up to. I'm happy to say that she's joining us to provide some of that today. Amanda, thank you for being here.
Well, it's my pleasure, Jeff, and love to talk with you also about the 5th Congressional District. I was actually with Congressman Bob Good this weekend and with members of the Freedom Caucus who are backing Bob Good. You know, I'm friends with both, so it's really tough.
Yeah.
Bob Good pulled off some amazing leadership with Mike Johnson, although he's been a disappointment. At least we have regular order in Congress. But, yeah, that's going to be a tough race to watch. But I'm glad we're focusing on bills the governor vetoed today. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm not going to ask you which side you may or may not come down on. But, you know, you are like a lot of us where we're able to say, in all honesty, in all candor, we like both of these guys. We're friends with both of these guys. And it's very, very interesting. Let's leave it at interesting for now till we really get into that. Let's talk about what Governor Youngkin has done. You've been following the legislation, and I've reminded folks throughout the session that they needed to sign up for your newsletter that analyzed all of this. Just great work. So where are we? What's happening with all of those?
Well, currently we have about 88 bills that the governor has vetoed at this point, to include there was House Bill 1, which was a bill that would have raised the minimum wage. And, there's all kinds of gun bills. You know, I'm a pro 2A person. I carry for personal protection. Yeah. I've really been focused on these gun bills because the governor assured me, look, Amanda, I'm going to be with you on the Second Amendment. And for the most part, he has been. There have been 40-plus gun bills, bills that go after law-abiding citizens. And, you know, I think we've got to respect the Virginia Constitution, Article 1, Section 13, and the U.S. Constitution, right? So I'm happy to say that the governor has vetoed. There's been about 33 bills that he's vetoed. There are 6 gun bills, if you will, that he's offered amendments to, and then there's 3 bills that he signed into law. But today we're just going to take an overlook at a lot of different types of bills, like the minimum wage increase, which, a lot of us who are business owners are really looking at this bill. We're glad that the governor vetoed this bill. It's House Bill 1, sponsored by a Democrat, John Ward. And thankfully, the governor has vetoed this. And, free market for salaries and wages works. It operates dynamically. It responds to the nuances of varying economic conditions and regional differences, and wage mandates imperils market freedom and economic competitiveness. So I'm very thankful. Even without the governor's signature, the current law mandates an increased minimum wage in the Commonwealth, and it indexes it to the Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers. So, this is creating an arbitrary mandate. It's a 25% increase in the starting wages of all employees.
Yeah.
And if you're a small business owner like my family,
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to be able to hire as many people. It really does impact the cost of doing business, and we need to allow the free market to determine that. So I'm very happy the governor vetoed that bill.
Let me ask you something about that, because that's such a great issue. I was chatting with some folks this past weekend, some of whom had come in from California. Now, California, as of today, and how thoroughly appropriate that it takes effect on April Fool's Day, the minimum wage now for fast food employees in the state of California is $20 per hour. And it was very interesting, this conference, and there were a couple of people there who were franchisees, and they said, well, we have two options. We either get rid of people, or we get rid of people and we raise prices astronomically. There's just no good way out from under that. And as you point out, it's just an artificial creation. They could have picked the number 50 out of their ear and had it be as legitimate.
Well, exactly right. And we know under Joe Biden's inflation, I mean, we're going to be adding to that. And look, I get it. People who are making the minimum wage is just that. It's a minimum wage. Employers can pay people more. In fact, they do. If they want to retain good employees, they know they have them more. But it also gives people a chance at a lower minimum wage that's determined by the market to have an opportunity or a shot at maybe there's not as experienced that. So,
good point.
Good point. So I'm with the governor on that one all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you were talking about some of the Second Amendment stuff. I got a lot of people reaching out, and you're a lot closer to this than I am down in Chesterfield, so maybe you can kind of give me some insight on this. But a lot of people saying, hey, why is one of our Republican delegates, Carrie Coyner, on board with a lot of this anti Second Amendment stuff? Can you shed some light on some of that?
Well, you're going to have Carrie Coyner to come on and ask her those questions, because it's beyond me. I mean, most Republicans vote for the Second Amendment, and I think honestly, I really appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of people assume if you're a Republican, you're going to support the Constitution. You're going to support not only the Constitution of Virginia, but the U.S. Constitution, which says your rights shall not be infringed upon. Carrie Coyner is a Republican, yet she's voting against Second Amendment. And what concerns me is this affects law-abiding citizens. It doesn't hurt the criminals. The Democrats vetoed all the bills that were targeted toward bills like Project Exile, which goes after the criminals, the people that are abusing their Second Amendment rights. And so I hope you will call her, Jeremy will call her up and ask her to come on your show so you can ask her those questions, because you and I are both curious about that.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, we will definitely take a look at that. I know one of the things that the Democrats in the legislature have really been pushing for, and I want to remind everybody, former State Senator Amanda Chase is joining us. She's done an amazing job throughout this session, analyzing each of the bills, working their way through the House and the Senate, and offering some really, really detailed analysis on each of them. The Virginia Democrats, we know, are pushing for what seems to me to be they want to weed shop basically on every corner in the Commonwealth. And I believe the governor has said, thanks, but no thanks. We're not doing that.
Well, and thank God for that. And you're referring to House Bill 698, which basically establishes a framework for the creation of a retail marijuana market. Now, let me begin by saying that this has been an ongoing issue for the 8 years that I served in the Senate of Virginia. Mm-hmm. And we have, what has been legalized is small amounts of THC oils for people. We have kids who have seizures. We have veterans who have PTSD. We want to help those people. But what's happening is this is a proposed legalization of retail marijuana, which is completely, incremental approaches are much better than opening the floodgates, because you can never shut those floodgates. And, I agree with the governor. The most concerning consequence of cannabis commercialization, which is what we're talking about, is its impact on adolescents and our children. Now, I have 4 grown children, and as cannabis has become legalized and commercialized, the calls to U.S. poison control for children who've been overdosed on edible cannabis products. It's increased by 400% since 2016. Wow. And if you look at places like Colorado, Washington, Ohio, and Massachusetts, they have actually experienced significantly more cannabis-related cause of poison control centers and increased emergency department visits for cannabis poisonings in children following legalization. And so Governor Youngkin is looking at that, and I'm so appreciative. It's much higher compared to non-legal states.
Right.
And in Virginia, you've got the Blue Ridge Poison Control Center reports that minors overdosing on edible cannabis products have increased by 85%. 85%, that's right, since Virginia legalized cannabis possession. So let that sink in.
That is outrageous. Outrageous.
Yeah.
What about the budget? Because that's the big one, right? We don't have a budget. The Virginia Democrats seem to be pushing for the governor to give on the weed stuff, or they want to kill off the arena project up in Northern Virginia. What are you hearing and seeing with that?
So the budget is very complex, and I was watching I mainly watched the Senate of Virginia and
Sure.
watching how they did, and all Republicans voted for the Senate version of the budget, with the exception of Senator Sturdivant, Senator McGuire. And to be honest, if I was in the Senate of Virginia, I would have voted against the budget too.
Okay.
There's too much spending. I believe we need to go back to zero-based budgeting, where we have to justify every expense that we have. I'm not one who, I think the only budget I voted for was a skinny budget, which we passed last year, which funds the core functions of government. And really that's what we should be sticking to, instead of all these agencies and that are really outside the purview of the Constitution. But if the governor was looking to cut taxes for Virginians, and balancing that out so that the net effect was that we're decreasing the overall tax burden on Virginians, the Democrats came in and cut that out. And I believe it was anytime there was some type of online service or streaming, that was going to be taxed as part of the complete package that Governor Youngkin proposed. It was a net. He was going to increase, I believe it was sales tax, but he was going to decrease other related taxes.
Right.
As a net negative. But what the Democrats did is they just took out the parts that cut our taxes and they increased our taxes for overall Virginia. Imagine that, Democrats raising taxes. What a shocker right there.
Yeah, right.
So I agree. The governor's not going to tolerate that. He's going to offer amendments to the budget.
Yep.
And I feel very certain that we will see that very soon. It's typically House Bill 29 and 30. There's a caboose bill which finishes up this year.
Okay.
I'm looking on my screen now. I don't think that's been handled. There's over people who need to really appreciate how many bills are on the governor's desk right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been doing the best he can to get through the list, and he's probably gone through several hundred bills, and he's got several thousand to look at. So the budget bill will be the biggest bill that he offers amendments to, and I know he remembers why we the people put him in office, and that was to cut our taxes, especially during times whenever you've got Joe Biden in there increasing our taxes. There's inflation.
Yep.
We've got to do everything we can to help everyday average Virginians who are paying ridiculous amounts for eggs. I can't get over the price of eggs right now, and milk. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And I'll tell you what, I left town for a couple of days. I came back, gas prices were up a dime. And I thought, oh my gosh, did I miss a crisis? What happened? It is out of control. I mean, we've got an opportunity, and I'm thinking most of us know, in November, if you're thinking about anything other than supporting former President Trump, I just think you need some help, because it's the only way that we're going to be able to salvage our nation. I mean, it's nice to think we could make America great again. Man, first we got to salvage it. We got to bandage some stuff up, but it's nuts. Former State Senator Amanda Chase, I appreciate you being here with all of this insight and analysis. I want to bring you back as these things make their way through the governor's pipeline there. That's former State Senator Amanda Chase. Great analysis, great insight on these bills, and we'll certainly have her back. We'll talk more about legislation, especially as we get into the whole budget discussion. Jeff Katz, News Radio, WRVA.